How's it going, everybody? And welcome to another episode of the Pursuing Greatness podcast. I'm your host, Gabe Peterson. This is the place where you can learn how to master your health, your wealth, and your love all in one place. So I hope you look forward to another great episode with another great guest. Before we get started, I do want to remind everybody that the best way to support the show is to simply subscribe, like, and share this episode with your friends. Also, if you want to get more involved with the show, check out our website at pursuinggreatnesspodcast.com. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoy. I hope you have your pen and paper ready to take some notes on some great wisdom coming your way. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the other side of the episode. All right. And we are live. Today we have with us Sandy Forster. Sandy is the Millionaire mindset mentor for women around the world who are ready to attract abundance and make a difference. She helps women break through their blocks, manifest more money, and create a life they are passionate about. Her award-winning international bestseller, How to Be Wildly Wealthy Fast, has been translated into over 11 languages, and her millionaire mindset experience has helped women from over 108 countries create more prosperity and transform their life. Sandy, I am super excited to have you on the show today. And on top of everything that I just said, you are calling from across the globe in Australia, and I'm here in Seattle. So thank you for hopping on the show. How are you doing?
I am great, and thanks for having me, Gabe. Really excited to be here.
Absolutely. Actually, before we got on the show, Sandy was mentioning that she had a goal to hit 100 podcasts, and this is her number one. This is her first podcast that she's done. So this is a privilege. You guys are here. You're experiencing it in the flesh. Sandy, to get us started, why don't you tell everybody, who you are, what you do, and how you got started down that path in the first place?
Sure. I guess it all comes back to I met a boy in high school. I married him, was married for something like 11 years. Other way around. Met him in high school, went out with him for 11 years, married for 3 years, and then we got divorced. And at the time, I had a swimwear company. I was designing and manufacturing swimwear just in my spare time at home. It wasn't huge. And I would sell all the swimwear down on the esplanade at the beach over summer. And so when we split up, that hobby had to become my income. And I realized pretty quickly that I was not very good at actual business. And I ended up $100,000 in debt and on welfare. So I was really in a bit of a bad pickle. So I had no idea what I was going to do. But the one thing I did love at that time was personal development. I loved reading books. I loved listening to audios. I loved just getting inspired in any way I could. So I really dived into it, and I was really lucky that I discovered a course that was based on the law of attraction. And so I just grabbed hold of that because, I'd been to lots of money seminars and I've been to lots of investing seminars, and all that side of it was really great and practical, but my brain wasn't wired that way, and it all seemed too hard, and it was like I didn't understand it all, and I didn't have any money anyway, so I couldn't really invest. But for me, when I changed the way I thought, my entire world changed. Suddenly, all these opportunities started opening up. Suddenly, I was able to, one of the things I started to do, I borrowed money to become a coach. And while that might sound, very like there's a million coaches out there these days, this is back in 2001, I became a coach. And I loved the fact that I could work from home and I could do it in my own time and make as much money as I want. And I found very quickly that what I love to teach others about and share with others was the law of attraction. So basically, by grabbing hold of the law of attraction and really implementing it in my life, I went from welfare to millionaire. And so that's the thing that I love to teach others because I know it works.
I love it. I love it. And I love the topic of mindset, of changing your mindset, because I know, I was really big into personal development myself for quite a while. I still am, but, I feel like I've read all the books. No, just kidding. But,
I never stop learning.
Mindset really is a huge thing, and it's amazing. You mentioned the law of attraction. I don't care how you want to phrase it, what words you want to use, but there is some kind of law, some kind of phenomenon that once you kind of put your mind into something and you really you orient yourself towards it, it just comes to you, and it does. I don't know what
I
science.
do know. I know the science behind it.
There you go.
At the base of your neck, there's this thing called the reticular activating system. And because if you think about it, where you're sitting right now, if you look around you, there is a million different pieces of information to take in. Like I could look at the wall and the picture and the plant and the window and the trees outside and all the different color green and the light and like a million different things. So your brain actually has to filter out what isn't important. So when you tell your brain what's important, like you want to, create $1 million, or you want a new house, or you want a new car, whatever it is that you want, if you continue to put that into your brain and think about that and focus on that, your brain filters out the things that aren't important and actually opens the door up and allows all those things that can bring you exactly what you've been focusing on to you. It's like the opportunities and everything you want are there all the time anyway, but your brain is filtering it out. So when you tell your brain what it is you want, it actually filters all those things into you. So all these opportunities, experiences, connections, things that you need to bring you what you desire suddenly appear. It's like magic, but it's just that your brain is suddenly going, okay, that's important, I'll bring it to you.
I love it. Now, I want to dive more into, the real meat of, the science behind it and how it actually works. Before we get there, though, your story was great. Really, I feel like there's a lot of inspiration that we haven't quite hit on there yet. So take us back. You were with your boyfriend for 11 years, and then you were married for 3 years. You got divorced. At the time, you were running a swimwear company. Kind of like what was the experience at that point? You just split up. You needed to create. You needed to create your own wealth, and you didn't have a business. You had
a hobby.
So kind of take us to that point, and how did you get from there to the point where you were financially stable?
So for me, what happened was when we split up, I had a 3-year-old and a 6-month-old.
Oh, wow.
So it was like, okay. So the first thing that happened was I went on the sole parents benefit, which was the pension. So I was getting $15,000 a year from the government just to survive. And just to make you aware how much that is, that's actually about $7,500 US. So I was not surviving. I was going backwards every single day. It was not good. So I decided I had to do something. And so I tried to build that business up, but I just, like traditional business and me, don't mix. So, as I said, I got further and further into debt when I was $100,000 in debt, and I realized I got to do something different. So I actually went to he was like I think he called himself a hypnotherapist, but he also helped you sort of get back on your path, if you will. And I remember coming out of that session and him saying, or asking me the question, what do you really like? And I said, personal development. And I remember thinking after that session, well, the only things you can do with personal development is write a book and speak. And there is no way in the world I'm ever going to do any of those two things. It's just not going to happen. Anyway, within about a month, I saw this little ad, inch by inch ad in the paper that said personal development, strong work ethic, and make money. And it was like, whoa. So I ended up reaching out to these people. It was to market a personal development course based on the law of attraction. That's how I learned the law of attraction. So I dived into that, loved it so much. And then I ended up becoming a coach. From becoming a coach, I had so many people, because it was around the same time the internet was really kind of booming, like about 2003. And so many people said, I want to do what you're doing. And because I just was able to live this life that most people were looking at going, you get to travel the world, you work your own hours, you work from home, you make as much money as you want. And so after about 5 or 6 years of being a coach and really sort of impacting people's lives that way, I decided that I wanted to launch my own life coach training academy. So I train people around the world to be law of attraction coaches, trained about, I think, 1,500 people. But in between all of that, after I had become a coach, I actually had someone come to me and say, you know what, she was my accountant. She came to me and said, you know what, I've seen you do really well at direct sales. I've got Robert Kiyosaki's real estate mentor approach me and wants me to market a course. It's sort of direct sales. It's similar to what you've done in the past. Would you be interested? And I'm thinking, no, I don't want to get into that. I don't, direct sales again, I'm out of it. And she ended up saying, look, I've got the leads because I'm an accountant and a real estate investor. I'll give you the leads and you can just talk to them. And so we joined forces, and it was so, like, people loved it. And within probably 3 or 4 months, I said to her, you know what? This is great what we're doing, but I think we need to actually launch something that's specifically for women. And so I came up with this idea for Wildly Wealthy Women. And it was her teaching real estate, me teaching mindset. And we had these Wildly Wealthy Women's Wicked Weekends 4 times a year where the ladies actually got together, and the rest of the time we just mentored them over the phone. And, that idea alone, I think, made me probably about $4 or $5 million. And so I've been really lucky that although I'm not a business person, and I never consider myself to be a business person, I consider myself to be a creative person who just happens to have a business and, make money from what I love. So I think I've been really lucky that I've come up, as I said, I've opened that side of my brain that allows me to see all these opportunities, and I take action on them without actually thinking, which is sometimes a good idea, sometimes not so good idea. But that's allowed me to make millions because I just take action on an idea, and quite often those ideas turn out to be great ideas. So yeah, lots of different things over the years, but Wildly Wealthy Women was one of the great ones.
I love it. I love it. So it sounds like direct sales was your bread and butter when you were creating this Wildly Wealthy Women. Is it still going on, or has it since?
No. So my business partner, she ended up she's doing still real estate and everything here in Australia in a huge way, but we just had so much going on in our individual businesses, we couldn't keep that going. So I've taken it over myself, transitioned it, but we don't do real estate anymore because I am not a real estate expert. I love real estate. I love investing in it, but I can't teach it.
It's ironic because I was telling you before the show, that is my expertise. Is my other podcast is the Real Estate Investing Club. And so if you guys want to learn how to invest in real estate, check out the other podcast. But we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you. So you got into direct sales. So kind of tell people, like, a lot of people, they see the internet business model and they're like, I want to do that. But they fall prey. Prey is kind of an extreme term to use, but they follow these models that just don't work. And there's no substance behind it. So give people advice if they do want to start. You've had tremendous success online. And so if people who are interested in creating wealth and creating a business that has an online model, what would the advice be that you give them?
I think the advice would be is, first of all, do something you love, because it's no point trying to get started online just to make money, because you won't have the energy and the focus and the commitment long-term to make it happen. So if you're doing something you love, that's the first thing. I think I was really lucky because I started on the internet and started building my internet business back in 2003. And so there wasn't all this funnels and Facebook ads and all the craziness is going on now. It was so easy. You just sent out an email and people bought stuff. It was like completely different. So I think now what I'd say is do something you're really passionate about. Find a mentor, someone who's already created the success in the industry or the niche that you want to dive into. And just follow the steps. Don't get sidetracked by the million different opportunities and things that you can do, because it just gets so confusing and you end up like a hamster on a wheel. Just stay really focused and just take action every day toward building your business. And the other thing I can say is, don't always think you have to spend money to make money. So I was $100,000 in debt and on welfare when I started my internet business, okay? So I learned how to grow my business without that. And back then there were no podcasts as such, but there was interviews. And I did lots and lots of interviews. I did lots of joint ventures. I did lots of actually reaching out to traditional media and getting stories and articles. And, doing all things that people would normally do around building a business that wasn't really internet related. But the great thing about the interviews that I did is that interviews particularly, whether it's these days a podcast or just an interview online somewhere, they stay around forever. And it's like almost like this ad for you forever. Because if people hear your message and they like what you say, they're going to search you out and they can find you on the internet. The other thing, if this sort of is up your alley, write a book. Honestly, I wrote a book and it became a bestseller back in 2004, and that has been my big business card to this day. So I wrote it in a way that draws people back to my site because I offer them a few different freebies throughout the book. And so I find that having a book just becomes the thing that continually draws people to me. I don't even have to sell the book. Amazon's selling the book. People are just coming to my site all the time. So yeah, definitely, if that's something you can do, I'd say write a book.
I love it. Those are both great pieces of advice, especially podcasts. I'm a huge fan of podcasts. Obviously, I have my own. So great piece of advice. Get on interviews, go out there, do some PR. You don't have to spend money in order to do that. So you mentioned writing a book. Sometimes people feel daunting. It feels like a daunting task to do that because it's not just a thing you go and you sit down and you do in an afternoon. So kind of how did you tackle that, and then how did you distribute it once you got it done?
Okay, so the way I did it is probably different to how everyone else does it. I actually started teaching back then it was a teleseminar. There were no webinars. So I started teaching a teleseminar, and it was a 4-week teleseminar called 7 Steps to Your Financial Freedom and Surefire Strategies to Increase Your Prosperity Forever.
Wow,
it was
nice.
a mouthful. But what I did was take all of the things that I had learned that I was implementing in my life around the law of attraction and money, and I would just write out a few bullet points. And because I can talk, I don't need to have everything scripted out. I know my subject. So I would just talk for an hour. And after 4 weeks, I found that I had more stories. And so I made it a 6-week teleseminar, then an 8-week, then a 12-week. And at 12 weeks, I thought, you know what? I can't keep extending this because the longer I make it, the higher the price has to be. And I really want to reach a lot of people. So I took all my notes from my teleseminar, which by then had become quite comprehensive, and kind of put them into an order. I put them all on Post-it notes and shifted them around on the wall and decided what order it would be. And then I just gave it to an editor and they edited it. And then I had a book. So it was really, I talked it, but I didn't talk it originally meaning to create a book. I just talked it. I was teaching people and, took all that teaching and turned it into a book.
Got you. So you took notes that you had that you'd already created for a course-like thing that you were doing, and you gave that to an editor who kind of turned it into the paragraphs and the chapters that you would expect for a book. Is that about right?
Yeah. Well, I worked on it more myself and turned it more into, and she just tidied it up and made it better. But it was so easy because, when I say I turned it from 4 weeks to 6 weeks to 8 weeks to 12-week teleseminar series, that was over a couple of years. So it wasn't like I did it once and then I did it again and then suddenly I had it. So over those couple of years, I ended up having so many stories, and instead of just bullet points, I would type it all in so I'd have lots of information. So it really became like a book without the stress of actually writing a book. Because writing a book can be very stressful. Yeah, so it was already done, and so I just tweaked it a bit and then gave it to the editor, and we had the book. So yeah, it was good.
Awesome. I love that. And that really came from you having a message.
Yeah, again, that's it. Don't try and write about something you don't know. Have something that you're passionate about and that you can talk about anyway, and that you don't have to think about, because then it becomes so much easier.
Great. So let's do a little role playing here. Say there's somebody who's listening. You were $100,000 in debt. Let's just do half of that. Let's just say somebody has $50,000 in debt. They don't have a lot of opportunity in front of them. What advice would you give that person to get out of debt and get into a place of financial freedom that they can be stress free and not have to worry as much?
Yeah. Okay. So the first thing I always say to people is, and I know people don't like to do this if they've got sort of entrepreneurial dreams, I say just get another job. Like, try and make money in whatever way you can. People are so So wanting to have the perfect entrepreneurial path or the perfect job, it's like, no, just go out there and do anything. You know, I remember having been a coach and then was in a position where I really thought, you know what, I'm not going to be able to, I'm not making any money. I don't know what I'm doing. I stopped coaching. I actually went and got a job, and the job was in a men's store selling seconds. And it was like just the crappiest job. But it brought me some income, and all day I would sit there and dream about what I was going to do and write lists and say affirmations. And then that was when my accountant rang me and asked me to come and work with her and, you know, sell this Robert Kiyosaki, Dolph Theroux's real estate thing. And so suddenly everything changed. So get a job, just get, that's the first step. Get a job to make money, anything practical you can do, whether it's walking dogs or, you know, who cares? Just do it, just make more money. And when you make that money, obviously try and pay off your debt, but more than anything, because when I was $100,000 in debt and on welfare, it's really hard not to think about your debt. But the more you think about your debt, the more you create the debt. So do whatever you can. And for me, it was visualizations, affirmations, creating a vision board. It was like, you know, one of the dozens of processes that I have in my book. But that's what I would do all the time. I constantly filled my brain with what I did want as opposed to what I didn't want. Because as soon as you start to constantly focus on what you want, and I don't mean, you know, 24 hours a day, but just think of it as a scale. If you're focusing more on what you don't want, then that's your predominant mental attitude, and that's what you'll attract into your life. When you think about more about what you do want, you'll attract that. But it doesn't have to be that. It just has to be a little bit more. Okay, so focus on what you want more, and do whatever you can to keep your mind on the things that you want, whether and feel that you've got them already. Because again, that's really, really important when it comes to attracting, because your thought sends the signal out, but your feelings are what attracts it back to you. So
like that.
You've got to have both. You've got to have thinking what you want and then feeling as if it's already happened. And when you create those emotions along with what it is you want to actually attract, that's where the magic happens. So, and then take practical action. Like, you're not going to sit around and, you know, meditate and expect it to drop into your lap. You've actually got to take practical action. And I think that is kind of the missing piece for a lot of people. They either are out there doing, but they're not thinking right, or they're thinking all the right things, but they're not actually doing. And when you do the two together, I always say, you know, again, that's where the magic happens. It's when you combine the practical with the metaphysical that all sorts of miracles can happen.
Yeah, I found myself, you know, at different times in my life, I found myself being more oriented or more drawn to different, you know, the thinking or the doing. And sometimes you get stuck in one habit.
Yeah.
But when you're doing that, like if you're only doing, then you're just, you know, you don't have any direction. You're just doing actions over and over again. And there's no real overarching goal. And vice versa for thinking. When you don't do anything, then nothing gets done. So
yeah.
I love that. I love that piece of advice. So going back, $50,000 in debt, you would say first, obviously, get a job. You know, take care of income, take care of cash flow. Cash flow is king, especially in real estate. When it's always cash flow is king. You need to be able to have money coming in the door in order for you to breathe, to just even be able to move forward. And then once you get to that point, it sounds like you're saying, what was the step after you take care of the practical aspects? How do you
find a mentor so that you can, you know, if you're wanting to start a business or you're wanting a career change or whatever it happens to be, find someone that's actually doing it and follow them. Because why make all the mistakes in the world when you can follow someone who's already sort of laid the path out for you? So, yeah,
awesome.
Mentors are brilliant.
I love it. Well, hey, unfortunately, we are at the end of the episode. It goes by so quick. It's crazy every single time. So we're going to go into the quick question round. And this is a round where I just ask you a quick question. You give your quick answer. Nothing fancy.
Okay.
The first one, we start out easy. I always feel like habits are the foundation of our life. It kind of what gives us the floor to kind of move forward from that point. So if you could look at your life and kind of pinpoint one habit that you feel has contributed the most to your success today, what would that habit be?
I would say meditating. I get up before sunrise and meditate, and I think that completely defrags my brain, defrags body, mind, and spirit, gets me set for everything.
I love it. And is there a specific type of meditation that you do, or is it?
Oh, I've done it all, but the one I love the best is just simply like nothing. Like just don't think. I don't even get out of bed. I just sit up. If it's winter, like now, pull the covers up, sit there, close my eyes, and just turn my timer on for 15 minutes and just try to not think. The hardest thing in the world. Just try not to think.
It's amazing what inaction actually does to you. It's very useful. So meditation, your favorite habit, the one that you feel contributes the most to your success. That's great. Moving on, books. I'm a big bookie, so I like to ask book questions. If you can give one recommendation for the topic that you're speaking about, so let's say wealth or mindset, and then one recommendation for just general life wisdom, what would that be?
Okay. Am I allowed to say my own book? Because seriously,
absolutely,
it's the best. Absolutely. How to Be Wildly Wealthy Fast is the number one for mindset and all the money manifesting tips. And then in general, gosh, that's a hard one. I have literally got probably 1,000 books in my bookshelves, and I've got so many going on, and they're all personal development focused. They're all, but one that I just had recently, what was his name? I don't even remember his name. It was something about a miracle morning.
Oh yeah, Hal Elrod.
That's it. Yeah. So I haven't even finished it because I've usually got like 10 on the go at once. But I've been diving into his, and I really like that.
That is a good book. Many people have recommended it, so you're in good company.
Yeah.
The next question: if you could go back to the Sandy who had just got out of that relationship, she was $100,000 in debt. She was kind of crushed by her current situation, and go back to that Sandy and just look her in the eye and say, hey, this is one piece of advice I want to give you moving forward into life. What would that piece of advice be?
Oh my gosh. I would have said to her, I don't even know if the internet was around then, but I would have said to her, the second the internet comes out, get on it. Like start a business on the internet.
I love it. That is very timely advice for sure.
Yeah.
And next one, this is just fun. What is your favorite place to go when you want to kind of get away and find some solitude?
Well, for me, it's actually my backyard. I've got 2 acres. So I've got this beautiful house on 2 acres, spring-fed dam. I've got, tropical gardens, and I've got the Balinese pavilion out there. And I get up to probably 17 kangaroos grazing on the grass out in the backyard because it backs onto bushland.
It's very Australian.
So for me, that is it. I just love sitting next to my swimming pool. I've got a big Buddha waterfall. And I just love sitting out there and having a few books around me. And that's my happy place.
I love it. Second to last question, quotes. I love quotes. So, a lot of people don't have the actual word for word quote in their mind, but if you got a quote, give me your favorite one. If you don't have a quote, just give me your favorite wisdom idea that you've had.
I think it is, I don't know who said it, but it's be realistic, expect a miracle.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I haven't heard that one before. That's really good.
Yeah.
Last question. You've given us tons of good wisdom so far, and I'm sure there's people who want to reach out, get in contact with you. So if they did want to reach out, what would be the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Probably best way, just go to my website, wildlywealthy.com. So
wildlywealthy.com. Perfect.
Yeah, different ways to connect with me there. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, Sandy, thank you again for hopping on the show. I had a great conversation with you. For everybody who's here on the episode with us today, thank you guys for showing up. We couldn't do this without you. Again, the best way to support the show is just to subscribe, like, and share with your friends and family. If you want to get in contact with Sandy, go to wildlywealthy.com, reach out to her. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great week, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Thank you guys for sticking with us on another episode of the Pursuing Greatness podcast. I hope you got a lot of value out of that guest. Again, the best way to support the show is just to subscribe, like, and share with your friends and family. Also, check out pursuinggreatnesspodcast.com if you want to get more information about what we do and what we offer. I hope you guys have a great day and keep living in integrity with yourselves. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode coming shortly.